What's up, fight fans? UFC Abu Dhabi will be taking place October 25th. The next UFC Abu Dhabi, to be exact. October 25th, UFC Abu Dhabi, or my apologies, more UFC 321. I should have started by fucking saying that. UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi will be on October 25th. And, the card is looking pretty good. Obviously the card's not fucking done. It's not finished. I'm not going to pull Lucas Tracy here. But, some all right fights. Obviously, pretty good main event. All right. This stuff is all. Obviously, this isn't the finished bout. But so far, the main card's not looking too bad. Anyway, here in this video, I'm going to propose a couple fights that I think would be a great addition to this card. This is going to be a lot of fun. I think so far it's stacking up to look pretty nice. Anyway, we're going to bring our inner Dana White, our inner Hunter Campbell, and we're going to do a better job than both of them. We're going to show more enthusiasm than they did when Dana White announced this fight card, which was disgraceful. All right. The way Dana White announced Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, it was like, it's the same amount of enthusiasm he shows when he has to sleep with his wife instead of one of his mistresses. So anyway, we're going to get started. The first fight that I propose would be a great addition to UFC 321. Many will disagree probably. Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. So a couple reasons why I think this fight should happen. One thing is that Paddy's win streak, I hate to sound like Colby Covington. I hate to sound like your hater, Paddy, but it's true, bro. Your last 3 or 4, whatever opponents, they have a combined 13 fight losing streak. All right. Now, Gaethje, he's won some, lost some. He's right now he's coming off of a win. I would say that Paddy Pimblett beating Justin Gaethje, who's coming off of his win against Rafael Fiziev, that would be more impressive than when Paddy Pimblett beat Michael Chandler when he finished Bobby Green. Beating Justin Gaethje is much more impressive. Even if Justin Gaethje is, not exactly in his prime anymore. Now, another reason why I want to make this fight is because just to give Justin something to do. He's been so salty and now listen, I know he wants a title shot. All right, he wants a title shot because why? Because he got knocked out against Max and then took on a short notice Rafael Fiziev, who was ranked below the top 10. Okay, that's why he wants the title shot. Fine. Justin Gaethje, you're gonna do what you're told. All right. Paddy Pimblett is a good fight for you. It's a fun fight. It's even a winnable fight for Justin Gaethje. All right. So I think there's no reason why this fight shouldn't happen. It works for both fighters. And both of these guys will for sure be prepared and ready to go by October 25th in Abu Dhabi for UFC 321. I scheduled these fights and made these matches in mind with their schedule and their previous fight in mind. All right. I'm doing a better job than Hunter, I swear. Anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think about this fight. Now, the next pair of fighters I'm going to show you, the fun thing about this is you could mix and match between this set of fighters and the next one I'm going to show you, which is Dan Hooker versus Arman Tsarukyan. Now, there's some obvious reasons. Oh, I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I didn't even finish some of the reasons as to why. I'm such a fucking idiot. I didn't even finish some of the reasons as to why Paddy should be on this card. Another reason is another UK fighter, get another English cunt on this fucking card with Tom Aspinall. England versus France, England versus America. It's looking like the fucking 1770s up in here now. All right. Anyway, yeah. And also just overall, this is going to be guaranteed fun. Come on. Styles make fights. This is a fun matchup. Fun styles. All right. And now back to what we were just talking about. Dan Hooker versus Arman Tsarukyan. And as I said, you can mix and match with these two fighters and the last previous set because obviously Arman and Paddy Pimblett would also be just as great to add to that card. But I just put this one in particular because I don't know exactly what the UFC is doing with I mean, it's so much question marks around Arman right now because of his relationship with the UFC. As much as I think that they should just throw Arman back in the title shot, let him fight Topuria as that's, the fight I want to see in the lightweight division. We know that's not going to happen. The UFC won't do the right thing. They're butthurt because why? I get it. He missed weight. All right. He fucked up one event. It was a big event, but let's move on. All right. And again, we're going to give so much punishment to Arman, but no punishment for Nina Drama. All right. For allowing her to get all this special access to fighters on fight week and putting them at jeopardy for this, for these stupid interviews. All right. I think more blame should be on Nina Drama's part, in my opinion. Anyway, another reason is obviously these guys don't like each other. They hate each other. All right. They constantly take jabs at each other on Twitter. Every couple months or every couple weeks, they just go at it for a little bit. So I think most of us have seen the human side note comment or something, but I believe Arman tweeted on a side note, Dan Hooker's a bitch. He called him and said that. And Dan Hooker's response was, Arman, you're a human side note. Just hilarious back and forth. And yeah, and I think that this fight could save Arman's UFC career, as I put up there. And as I've been saying, his relationship with the UFC is pretty awful right now. He's doing all these side quests. He's doing grappling matches with K1, karate combat. What is going on? What is going on with Arman? Let's get this bullshit. Let's get it, put it behind us. Let's put UFC 311 behind us, all right? We have a new champion in this division. Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker is a lot of fun. And yes, I also think that this fight would make sense because I understand that Dan Hooker pulled out of the Justin Gaethje fight in March because of a hand injury. He will have for sure enough time for his hand to heal, I believe, by October, especially for Dan Hooker, bro. We know this crazy psychopath is already back in the gym sparring with a broken hand, bro. We know he's crazy. Oh, speaking of when Dan Hooker was injured and pulled out of the Justin Gaethje fight back in March, something about that is it also contributed to some of the trash talk between Arman Tsarukyan, who was just getting shit on by Dan Hooker after he pulled out of UFC 311. Dan Hooker, just like Paddy Pimblett, was saying that Arman shit himself. When Dan Hooker got injured and pulled out of the Justin Gaethje fight earlier this year and hand injury, Arman didn't hesitate. He jumped right on it to make fun of Dan Hooker for pulling out. Dan Hooker, he shot back at him. He said, hey, I injured my hand training for a fight. You injured your back trying to impress Nina Drama. Just really funny back and forth, and more reasons as to why we should see this fight. Because, listen, I know Tom and Cyril Gane don't like each other, but do we really think we're going to get good trash talk between those two? Come on. It's going to be way too respectful. All right. I want to see two guys who are actually going to shout, get mad at each other, probably going to charge at each other during the press conference. All right. Especially, it's pretty easy for Dan Hooker is so good at getting Arman riled up and getting him very mad. So I would love to see this fight in an addition. And also, it's a good win for Arman. I mean, this gets you right back into the title picture because Dan Hooker's riding a 3-fight win streak right now. Taking him out now, would be a... Taking him out on this much momentum would do a lot for you right now. All right. Moving on. So, listen, I know this one is a little random, but I think this is so much fun. Just think of the promos. It would be so much... Marcel Rufi, get your candy nerdy ass back into the octagon. Now, we got unfinished business. Even though him and Rufi never had any history. We got unfinished business. Marcel Rufi, I'm going to stuff you into a goddamn locker. October 25th, Abu Dhabi. I mean, there's just so much fun promo you can cut with this fight. Anyway, yeah. Michael Chandler. I believe he's his UFC record, I believe, is 2-5. Yeah, he's 2-5 in the UFC. He's been getting Dana White privilege since entering the promotion. Obviously, he got a title shot off of one win. This is a true fact, very miserable, very depressing. Mike's last win against a fighter on the current roster was January of 2021. Dan Hooker. I believe that was Dan Hooker, I believe. I don't know who else could it have been. Because Tony Ferguson's been cut. It must have been Dan. Yeah. But correct me if I'm wrong. And this is a fun test for Marcel Rufi because Michael Chandler's explosive. He's very unorthodox. And so the competition that Marcel Rufi has faced so far, Bobby Green and some other guys, But although his last win was his most impressive, Marcel Rufi, has 3 wins in the UFC, 3 fights in the UFC, 3 wins in the UFC. 2 of those are finishes. And he's a star in the making. Dude, and also, come on. there's like a 90% chance this fight is going to end in a finish. There is a 90% chance somebody's getting knocked out. That's the main reason. And I think it also, sorry, not I think, but it does allow Marcio Ruffi to break into the lightweight rankings with a win over Michael Chandler, who, you know, Michael Chandler's 2-5. You know, he needs to fight some an unranked star. Marcio Ruffi is the perfect matchup for him for UFC Abu Dhabi. So let me know, you know, UFC 321 is not a finished card. Let me know if you agree with some of these matchups that should be added. Let me know some what you guys personally think. Are there any matchups you think that I didn't say that should be added to UFC 321 in Abu Dhabi? Let me know. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for the support. We're almost at 50 subscribers. I am so happy. Thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe.